Good morning. My husband got me a GoPro for my birthday, so I've just been playing with it. I wanted to give you a tour of my garden. It's a permaculture food forest, somewhat in training, I should say. Right now, when we first bought the property, it had no fence anywhere, and it also had just grass everywhere, except for a few trees and some ligustrum. So we had the tababui tree, and that's a tree that has bright yellow flowers. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful ornamental tree. There was also a second tababui, which is right here, and then a magnolia and a maple. And then we had loquat trees all along the north border of the driveway. So we also had a few water oaks, which we don't go for because they'll pretty much fall down in a hurricane and destroy your property. So we took those out. They were pretty small. They were just probably seedlings that were all along the side of our property, but they were also right where we needed to put in our fence. So we got rid of those. So now we've added a bunch of fruit trees. I pretty much put in fruit trees and plants that would bring in beneficial insects. And I'll just tell you what the trees are and the plants. So we have a beautiful Brogden Avocado right here. This tree is about 8 feet tall now, and I put it in when it was about, I think it was around 4 or 5 feet tall. It's grown pretty quickly. If you look at the base, you can see I take my chicken's poop, their bedding, and I spread it around underneath it, and it loves it naturally because it's chicken poop. In addition, I've got this beautiful another avocado. This is a Ooh La La Super Haas. It's a happy tree. You can see the size of it. I know I shouldn't be shooting right into the sun. You can see the size of it is huge. It's probably 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall. It's a very healthy, happy tree. It's loving life here. Then I have a papaya. Now these papayas have huge papayas. This is a red papaya and it is delicious. You can see the fruit here. I have about 50 papayas in my yard, so we eat those a lot. I eat them fried in butter, frankly, and I also like to eat them in salads. I'll julienne the papaya, mix it with a little bit of chunky peanut butter so it has nuts, and then I will also mix it with a little bit of hot pepper jelly, and 2 tablespoons of that with a whole papaya is plenty. And then you have an Asian salad. It's so tasty. And then this is a Brogden avocado. This poor tree, my yard guys, when I first put the tree in, probably 6 months into it. We've only owned this house 6 months. I'm sorry, a year and 2 years and 6 months. When this tree was about 6 months old, my yard guys girded it with a weed eater. So my mom took a transplant of its outer bark and put it in actually right here, and it has survived, surprisingly. She transplanted that and it just grew in perfectly, so it survived, but it's totally stunted compared to my other trees. These are all ornamentals, just pretty plants and these were all here when we bought the property. But I just want a mixture of plants. This is a blue plumbago right here. My chickens love to eat blue plumbago. On the other side of my property, this is a Juliet Mango. And Juliets have the most incredible mango. This is just spectacular. I haven't actually received any mangoes off any of my mango trees, except for one. I had one mango. Right after I planted them, they had maybe 6 months in the ground when unfortunately we had a frost, and the frost was to the point, I mean, I didn't even think, it didn't even tell us that it was going to be a frost that night on the news, but I didn't cover anything, and these little trees were so miserable. So that was a year ago. So this year I expect to fully receive a lot of mangoes, and I'm not going to cover them at this point. They're old enough. They're a year and a half old, so they should be just fine in the ground regardless. Next to them I have a bunch of papayas, more papayas. This is actually a different type of papaya. It's a yellow and orange papaya. And you can see there's a lot of fruit on this one. And I have papayas all along the property line. And then you can see some loquats behind this. Here's a nice Thai plant just for a little color. Although I had to chop this one down. The mangoes take priority to me, so anything that is around my mango plants that's encroaching on them has to come out. Here's our little dog Shadow. Hi, Shadow. And there, I put crotons in all along this that I propagated from other crotons at our other house. And half of them died. A lot of them got weed-eaten by our yard guy, but the ones that survived are going to add a nice pretty pop of color. And here's my boy. Hello, Shadow. Can I come in? So I'll go ahead and continue this way. I have blackberry bushes all along here. The blackberry bushes, there's a number of varieties. I have sweetie pie, casa or osage rubus, and Natchez, pretty much. I also have a number of different delicious grapes. So this is blackberries. Here we have some grapes. Right here is an Izu persimmon, and it's not astringent. I have 3 persimmon trees in the yard. I just love persimmons. And what's nice about persimmons is you can actually get some fruit in August, September, October. Tons of cranberry hibiscus and coleus. And this is a lovely curry plant, curry leaves. And I love curry. So I have a lot of plants that bring in the beneficial insects, flowering plants. This little tiny mango tree is a Hayden mango, and I wanted to get a Hayden because it is the most delicious mango ever, I think. This is a longevity spinach. I have this planted all over my yard. My husband and I eat it pretty much every day. I never buy bagged lettuce or spinach or any bagged green like this because I really don't need to. There's just such an abundance of this. It grows like a weed in our yard. We've got more over here. I've got it spread all over my yard. Sometimes I'll harvest it and I'll cut it back and I food process. I rinse off the leaves, I food process it, and I have bags, quart-sized bags of this in my freezer. It's uncooked, but it's food processed. So you throw it into soups and you throw it into omelets. You can eat it with anything because it has really almost no flavor. It's kind of like spinach where it's pretty much will take on whatever flavor of food you put it with. So if we continue this way, here's another, and I just walk right on these. These are, it's almost like a ground cover. This is another, oh, and look at my mama. Now my chickens, I don't want you to think I'm abusing these poor little things. They're 2 years old, so some of them are in a hard molt. I have 4 girls that are in a hard molt where their feathers are just falling out. That's Hopalong. Hopalong has a bad hip. She knows that I'll catch lizards for her because she has a bad hip. She doesn't really dig the way the other chickens dig. Here's another little lady. This is Gray. Hi, Mama. So here's another grapevine. I've got grapevines all along the fence. There's a bunch of different varieties. This is a blackberry bush. And I already told you the varieties that I have of those. This is a sweetheart lychee, and I have a lot of hopes for this tree. I love lychees. I freeze them, and then you can peel them so easily, and you pop it in your mouth, and it's like, it's almost like having a popsicle. It's so good. So we'll walk through here. Oh, and here's a little mama. She wants to say hello. So over on this side, this is lemongrass, and I love lemongrass. It's so tasty. And we have Turk's cap. Now Turk's cap I will put in I will put in my I put them in my salads. Turk's cap goes great in salads. They're delicious. It's so, so pretty. And the mamas like hanging out under it. Look, they're eating their breakfast. Good morning, mamas. This is a macadamia nut tree, and it's a nice big tree. I know, mamas. You can tell some of my sunflower seeds are coming up. The girls sometimes miss the seeds, and then a plant will come up, and it'll, of course, bloom. I'll have a huge sunflower there, and then the next thing you know, the girls will knock it down, and they'll eat the sunflowers. So it's a nice... It regenerates itself. It's a sustainable system at this point. This is a jaboticaba tree. It's a tree grape. That's what they call it. It's from Brazil. This type of tree actually produces grapes, like grape-like fruit, and it's right on the bark, which is a little unusual. I'm excited about it. I haven't had those before, and it hasn't fruited yet for me, but I'm pretty sure that in the next year it'll fruit. Over here we have another grapevine, and this is sorghum. Sorghum grows in my yard because I've planted some seeds. I've got it all over the back. Once it grows up large, it has a huge seed pod head that then I will break over, or the chickens will knock it over, and they'll eat the seeds. They love sorghum. Here's another grapevine. This is a Nagomi Kumquat. This is a Nagomi Kumquat. It's beautiful. And look at this little nest in it. I'm going to send this up to my niece. I don't know if you can see that. Such a pretty little nest. So something was enjoying that little house. The squirrels pull them off onto the ground and eat them. I think my chickens actually eat them too. Or they might just peck them off for no reason. That's what they do. That's what chickens do. This is a lovely centennial. It's a centennial kumquat. It is super tasty when it's really orange and ripe. If you eat it at this point, like I can eat the other kumquat right now, and it's absolutely delicious. But if you try to eat this kumquat right now, it's super tart. But right now, you can almost treat it like a lemon. So I'll sometimes cut these onto a piece of salmon, and it's really tasty. And they're kind of like almost like a calamondin, but it's really tart. These are mulberry bushes. I'm really looking forward to getting some mulberries off of them. They're called the everberry, and they're two different types. One of them is red and one of them is pink, I believe. And then I have another grapevine. I just harvested some comfrey that I had planted all along here, and I left a lot of the roots, so they'll come back, but I also pulled up a lot of the roots and I planted them under every fruit tree. Now this poor tree, my little ladies love to dig up. They love to dig in this corner, and so I'm constantly burying that tree. I'm gonna have to put some hardware mesh around it just to keep the mamas out of it, and I'm gonna be putting out a lot of mulch in the next week or two, and at that point it'll be a little safer. Here's my doggy Shadow. So this is a Texas blue giant fig. It's a very unhappy fig where it's located, probably because it really just doesn't get enough sun here, I don't think. It's shaded much of the day by the yucca, and then this tree also serves to shade it, so I'm gonna have to move that one. This is a little black sapote. The poor little tree is just miserable. You can tell something has gotten to it, but I'm gonna be moving this tree for sure. I'll probably put it next to another black sapote I have. This is cassava, or yucca root. My chickens like to hang out under this tree. There's a lot of lizards in there. So I harvested some last week. I dug it up from right here. And then what you do is you chop these parts up. You chop these into branches about maybe 8 inches long. And you just put them in the ground. You can see I did that here, and they just grow back. So they're easily rooted by sticking them right in the ground. You don't even have to do anything. Now, my little ladies like to dig around here, so there's a lot of them that got dug up, and these roots are just dead roots at this point. But the ones that grew, I've got 2 of them, and that's really all I need for this area to have plenty of cassava root. Now, I've planted that all along the lake side of our property, so I'm not really worried about not having enough. There's enough. At this point, I could probably live on this cassava root from what I've got growing in my yard. So this is a night blooming jasmine, and then this is a Beers Black. You can see a Beers Black fig, and it's a very pretty fig. They've got some little figs on it. The little mamas love to eat figs. I don't know if you can see that. I put some pineapples in. Every time I take harvest a pineapple, I just plant them wherever around my yard. This is another black sapote chocolate pudding tree. I just planted this about maybe 6 months ago. It's got a little coloration issue. I mean, I can't imagine why, since my chickens poop around here all the time, and it's on a septic field. So like this grassy area is my septic field. That's why there's nothing planted here. I'm going to keep it grass. The little ladies love to harvest grass. They like digging around in it. Who knows what they're finding. There's plenty of bugs in my yard. I mean, they just have an unlimited supply of bugs. Oh, and this one's in the hardest molt right now. Oh, she's eating a bug. Little mama, are you eating a bug? So she is a mess. You can see all her feathers on her shoulders fell out, and she's got little pin feathers coming in underneath. Some of them are molting really hard, and then some are molting just a little here and there, but the ones that are molting hard, I pretty much catch lizards for them all the time. So back to the figs. I love this fig tree. It is so, so delicious. Every day I come out and I harvest figs, and here's 2 that probably need to be picked right now. Aren't they beautiful? They are so nice. Look at that fig tree. It's gorgeous. This is a Magnolia Fig Tree. Here's another fruit that's ready. So this tree has branches that are down low and branches that are up high. They all have figs all over them, and the little ladies come and peruse the trees, and when they're ready, they know it, and they will pick them and eat them. They absolutely love these figs. I get the ones that are up high if I'm lucky. But the little ladies, guaranteed, if I leave this one on much longer, they'll jump up and get this. And you can see my little chickens are having a lot of fun. Hi, Mama. I know, Mama. You're a good girl. So this is a cadota fig. It's a super sweet fig. It's really delicious. I mean, I can't say enough about figs. I eat them every day. I love to eat figs. We make fig jelly, fig preserves. Mama. No fussing, Mama. No fussing, Mama. This is my artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke. Super tasty. It's like a little tuber that you can make almost like a potato. I have it with eggs sometimes in the morning. This whole area back here is just loaded with it. I'm trying to keep the sun out. I'm going to have to come from a different angle. No fussing, Mama. This is a very pretty purple potato. I love the flowers. They're like little cups. So I get enough sweet potato that we don't have to buy any in the store ever at this point. I planted it all along here, and I've already harvested the potatoes. super tasty potatoes. This is an Ischia fig. I mean, this is a nice looking fig tree, and it produces so many figs. But I have pretty much plowed through this tree for the fig already. There's still a lot left, but these are not going to get ripe anytime soon. I've got another probably 2 weeks for these to ripen. No, Mama, what are you fussing about? She's begging. She's begging for some tasty treats. So this is a white Marsalis fig. You can see a fig right here. And it's pretty covered in figs right now. I just love this. So pretty. None of these are ready. When they get ready, they'll really fatten up and soften up. This one's not too far along from being ready. Once the stem starts to droop, that's when you know it's getting close. Now I have to retrain this plant. This is a no-no. I love these. It's passion fruit vine. It's a pink passion fruit, and I also have a white passion fruit on my chicken coop. But that passion fruit is just growing all over. I have a spring right behind here, and I'll show that in a different video. But my spring, it runs all the way down the side of my property to the lake, and it's about maybe 200 yards or 200 feet from the lake that it runs. And so I have a lot of plants along my spring, and the passion fruit is just pretty much trying to take over everything. So I'm going to retrain it. I'm going to pull it all the way back to my fence and run it all along my fence line here. And that I won't mind, but I just don't want it, I don't want it encroaching on my fig trees. So if we come back this way, oh, the mamas love digging in all this. Hello, mamas. You're good little mamas. They're actually begging me to find them some lizards right now. I find them lizards on these trees. The lizards like to sit on the top of my fence post. So our property is an acre inside the fence, and then we have about 1/3 of an acre outside of the fence between the front of the yard and also the lakefront side. So they don't have access to that area, but to fertilize it, I will bring their chicken poo back there. So this is a holly bush, and it is sharp. I guess everyone loves to plant holly under a bedroom window for some reason. I think it's fine. The chickens go underneath it. Everything that I like having a variety of plants in the yard, and the chickens like to hang out in the back of it. I always trim everything up about 1 foot off the ground so the chickens can scurry underneath it, and behind it, it's about 1 foot away from our house, and that gives the chickens the opportunity to use it as what I call the chicken superhighway. All along my property, or all along the house front, the chickens run behind the plants and under the plants and just have a nice fun time in there. Okay, what is the name of this plant? So these are jatropha's. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it flowers at all times, so it will draw in beneficial insects. They're very pretty. They grow about 6 feet tall, and then you can kind of trim them up so that it produces almost like an umbrella effect. And that's what I want to do, because that way my chickens will have one more little area to not have to worry. Now this I really need to weed. I stopped weeding at about right here. So today my job is to weed this area, and I have a lot of mulch delivered. I'm probably not even going to weed it. I'll probably just mulch over the weeds and then just pick out what I need to pick. This is a pretty little olive tree. I'm hoping that it'll do well here. I had a jackfruit here, and unfortunately the jackfruit died. Just didn't make it. I love the smell of gardenia, so I planted 4 gardenias right here. And of course the little mamas constantly dig things up, so I have to go around and bury some of those. All throughout my yard there's a ton of bromeliads, mother-in-law's tongue, just a variety of irises, pretty little plants. That's ligustrum. I really need to get that trimmed back. At this point I'm going to have to use a chainsaw to trim that back because it's so ridiculously big. These are all beautiful air plants. They're also bromeliads. I've got some pineapples growing in there, a lot of fern. This is a gigantic maple tree. I don't know if I can get back far enough for you to see the top of it. And then this is a magnolia tree, and it has beautiful blossoms. I'm back to where those Turk's caps are. This is what my chickens are eating for breakfast right now. I give them, I don't really have to feed them any feed. They can get about 2 cups a day. Look at Shadow, he's thinking about eating some of that, but that is a no-no, boy. No, don't think about eating your feed. Hey, get away. That's their feed. So, he's never snapped at my Shadow. You're not going to eat that. Come on. Come on, boy. Don't even think about it. This is a little cage that I keep in case I have a broody mama or a sick mama. So if a mama's hurt or sick and I still want them to be out with the rest of the flock, I will put them in this little cage. And oh, and there's Roosty. She's a girl, but her name is Roosty because she took a whole year to finally lay an egg. And I wondered, gosh, do I have this wrong? Could she possibly be a boy? Everyone else laid eggs at 4 months, and she took until a year to finally crank out an egg. We have ginger, and we have turmeric through here. And on the other side of this tree is lemongrass. This is where the chickens like to hang out in the heat of the day. It is absolutely divine here because it's so densely shaded. I don't know if you can see this tree, this plant. So these are all just flowering plants mixed with herbs and medicinals. A lot of cranberry hibiscus. We put that in our salads. We make teas with it. It's got a tart lemony flavor. It's really tasty. This is where I do all my potting. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess. I just dig up a bunch of dirt from various places in my yard, mix it together with a variety of supplements that are organic, like kelp and other items, and I'll do probably a show on that. And then I just take this whole, I use all these to make my seeded plants to go in my annual beds. Here are more beautiful plants. This tree is so pretty. I just love this tree. And my mom has taken other peach pit, other pitted fruit, and she has layered it into this tree by splicing. So we should be getting in the next year when it blooms. It is a, shoot, I can't remember the name of it right now. It's a loquat. So loquats are awesome because they're super strong and perfect in the Florida weather. Their rootstocks are very strong here in Florida. So my mom actually spliced other pitted fruit onto it. And the type of pitted fruit she put on were plums, a variety of peaches. We got clippings from everybody we know. And she just spliced them right onto this tree. So I should have a variety of fruit coming off this. This is PJJ. She's asking me why I haven't put out their fresh food yet. Sorry, Mama. PJJ is missing an eye. She was my second chicken. We got an MJ and a PJ. And unfortunately, PJ died. So PJJ was the replacement. And she was one of my first chickens, weren't you, Mama? Okay, so now I'll go ahead and talk about my side yard. And I'll start at this end. Oh, I do have one more thing to show you here. So I have some Lagos spinach. Oh, here it is. It's such a pretty flower. I'm waiting for these seed pods to do their magic. I planted some, and look at how eaten alive it is. And the ones eating it are the chickens. I try not to even pay much attention to it because I know the girls will just eat it if they see me looking at it too closely. So as soon as these start graying up, I will shake the seed pods into an envelope and save them, and I will propagate this to death because this is a plant food and my chickens just love it. It is loaded in iron and vitamin C, and the chickens want to eat it constantly. And I would love to eat it too, but I haven't been able to eat any yet because they're too busy with it. Here's Moore's longevity spinach. It's pretty much used as a ground cover here. There's so much of it you can just walk on it. It's lovely. I love these beautiful flowering plants to bring in the beneficial insects. Okay, now we're on to this side of the yard. So there are loquats all the way down the entire side of this yard. The loquats are lovely. We make loquat jelly out of them. I think the loquats were were created by the birds. I don't think they actually planted them because there are a number of varieties and they're all slightly different, each tree. So one of them will have a bigger nut, one of them will have a lot more meat, some of them are bright orange, some of them are more of a light pinkish color. We actually harvest the loquats, peel them, and then make loquat jelly out of them. And sometimes we make loquat pepper jelly. Speaking of, I missed this. I have peppers, about 50 pepper plants throughout the yard. And I just love these peppers. I have pepper plants on the back side of this. Now this is the side that faces north. So this is my northwest side, which is why it's perfect for planting large trees. You want to plant your large trees on your northwest side. Okay, so this is my Glen mango. Oh, she's gorgeous. I had one fruit off of this tree. I planted it a year and a half ago. Then we had the hard freeze. And then, the hard freeze happened right as the fruit was blooming. I mean, right as the tree was blooming. So that was unfortunate, but it's fine. I got to eat one and it was spectacular, just like I thought it would be. This is a moringa. This is a tree you can pretty much put anywhere, and you can cut it back and it'll just thrive. I eat this, the chickens eat it. It has a large percent of vitamins. It's super nutritious, and I mean, I've read that it's called miracle tree, just because it really feeds a number of nutrients, and you really can't kill it. Now, I didn't harvest the drumsticks. You can see that I have drumsticks all over, and I'll zoom in on some of the drumsticks. These are the drumsticks. Supposedly, these drumsticks taste, if you catch them while they're green, you can cut them into 1-inch chunks, and then you can eat them, and they're supposed to taste a lot like not an artichoke, but an asparagus. I didn't bother to harvest them. I just was out of town, and now they're brown. So the next time they bloom, right now they're blooming, so I should have another batch of drumsticks relatively soon, and at that point I'll go ahead and harvest them. This is chaya, otherwise known as tree spinach. It's a perfect little plant to put anywhere that you don't, that you have a little space to fill in. So for example, in permaculture, while I'm waiting for my mango trees to get really large, you plant a chaya, you plant a moringa, and then the tree will finally grow up. These two trees will fill in. I'm going to have them esplanade style, because I have 17 feet to the property line, and then they can also hang somewhat over my driveway, but I'm going to have them esplanade style, just to kind of like spread out along the driveway and a little over the driveway. And then I'll keep them relatively short. I want to keep them like maybe 20 to 25 feet tops. I don't need that many mangoes. Right now I'm already getting 1,000 mangoes just from 2 of my trees, and but I like the variety, and I can always give them away to friends, make jellies, and we use it on, we freeze them and we make sorbets out of them. We eat that product constantly, and it's a lovely produce. So you can see back here we have just a ton of pineapples. I have pineapples all over my yard. We get about 30 pineapples a year right now. And of course, every time we get a pineapple, I replant it. Never hurts to have too many pineapples. They're super tasty. So this is a Maha Chinook mango. More pineapples, more bromeliads, more mother-in-law's tongue, more papayas, more loquats. And then the sun is right in our face here, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'll come around to the other side. This is a Hall avocado, and Hall is a delicious avocado. This is a very happy tree here, but you have to keep in mind the chickens poop on my driveway, and then when it pours, when it rains, it basically the water, which is poop water, flows all along this side, and so everything is super lush along this side of my yard. I have more pretty mother-in-law's tongue in the back. A lot of varieties of bromeliads. They're just beautiful. More pineapples. This is from my tree company that handles Preco. It's our electric co-op, and they're very sweet. All I have to do is give them a call, and within a day or two, they come out. Of course, I give them eggs and pumpkins and papayas and whatever's in season at the time. So this time of year, it's starting to get cool. I like to take about 10 to 20 wheelbarrows per day and just give a 4-inch mulch layer throughout the entire yard. And so I'll probably have 4 or 5 more loads of this delivered. Every time I finish it up, give them a call, they come, I get another load. This is orange sherbet mango. Very pretty. And this is katuk. Katuk tastes like a green sweet pea, and the leaves you don't have to cook them or anything. You just put them right in your salads. We put them, mainly we eat this raw and in salads just because it's so tasty. Here's a red plum. And here's some more papayas. This red plum generally has lizards laying on it in the evening, so the chickens congregate underneath it and wait for me to catch some for them. This is a second plum. It's more of a blush colored plum. It's very tasty. There's lots of pumpkin that you see underneath. I just harvested most of the pumpkins from here, but there's a couple left. These are Seminole pumpkins. We get about 500 Seminole pumpkins at this point per year, and they're between 1 and 4 pounds. And my chickens love them. The dog eats one every day. It's loaded with nutrients, and Mitch and I eat them. We stuff them with, we can make them as desserts, and sometimes we actually stuff them with our with lamb. Sometimes we cook them with fish. We make mashed potatoes out of them, even though it's pumpkin. And they taste super delicious. This is my Kerry mango. She is gorgeous. And I love Kerry mangoes. They are spectacular. And then we have a number of varieties back here of sugarcane, of ligustrum. There's that horrible vine that I'm trying to pull up every time I see it. I'm going to have to ask my neighbors if I can go root it out of their yard, because it constantly goes into my yard from their yard. And then we have banana plants. We have beautiful, there's a lot of flowering vines. In fact, this is my chicken coop. This is my chicken coop. It's 12 by 27. And then it has a little run, and the run is, 70 by, on average, say 20. So it's a nice big run. That's where I have my meat birds. I'll give you a tour of that later. But I have a passion fruit growing on this, and it's blooming. Hello, passion fruit flower. You are so pretty. So there's there's blooms everywhere on this. So I'm assuming I'm going to have a bumper crop of passion fruit. I'm so excited about it. It grows all along the back side of my coop. And then I have a shed back here, and then the lake. So over on this side, this is a miracle fruit. Miracle fruit is a little red berry that tastes, it makes everything you eat, any sour, your receptors in your tongue are turned off. And so the sour flavor just disappears and it leaves everything tasting sweet. So if you eat a lemon slice, it actually tastes super sweet in your mouth. So it's kind of good if you have diabetes or anything. If you want something to taste sweet and you don't want to actually get the carbs, you can do that. And then this is a lime. At some point, I'm going to give you a tour of my backyard. I have lots of places where the chickens hang out, lots of raised beds, lots of pumpkins. And I have a banana patch back there with 11 varieties of bananas, lots of eggplant, flowers, and I love it here. It's getting to where I want it to be. This yard is turning into what I want. It's getting close. We've been here 2 years now, and it's getting closer. I need to get rid of that little last bit of grass in the back, but I'm going to be planting it in with some seeds I bought. That's clover, perennial peanut. It's all self-regenerating seeds, and it's all edible for chickens. And it's not just edible, the chickens absolutely adore these plants. So I bought a bunch of seeds that are for chickens that they'll just enjoy it. So maybe a tour of that next. Thanks so much. Bye.